What up, everybody? Good morning and happy Tuesday, December 12th, 2023. DK Show up on the air on your radio dials of 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also available online at sportstalk1051.com. Get your Google and Alexa home devices, the app, and the video stream also up and rolling on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Appreciate you making us a part of your starts on this Tuesday morning here. Maybe a little bit of a slow start for a lot of you out there. Maybe a little bit of a frustrating start for a lot of you out there. After last night's game, Packers falling 24-22 to the New York Giants. Packers taking the lead there with just over a minute left to go. And, not able to hold them out of field goal range. And the Giants, with the walk-off field goal last night, Packers dropping to 6-7 on the season, still holding on due to the various tie-breaking scenarios. Packers still holding on to the seventh and final spot in the NFC playoff race. But Packers weren't able to obviously increase their gap a little bit after Sunday, which they got a little help with the Rams losing, the Seahawks losing. Packers had a chance to tie it up with the Vikings in terms of record wise, both at 7-6, and kind of increase that gap between the other teams that are still in the hunt. But Green Bay not able to do that last night after coming off of three straight wins. Last couple wins here, big time wins against Lions and Chiefs and such. But yeah, I know a lot of frustration from Packers fans and the Packers themselves too. But not only did the Packers lose last night, they might be a little shorthanded in their receiving department as they get set to take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this Sunday. Dontavian Wicks went out with an ankle injury. He told some members in the media that it's messed up, saying it's a high ankle sprain. So I wouldn't expect him anytime soon. Jaden Reed getting assessed for a concussion after the game too, and then you already had Christian Watson missing some time with that hamstring injury. So not only did Green Bay lose that game last night, they may have taken a hit in the wide receiving department in terms of their depth last night. So I'm sure a lot of you have something to say on this Ray's Place What's Your Beef Tuesday. You can start to hit us up with some texts at 715-830-1912. And just remember, keep it clean, keep it appropriate, so I can say it on the air. Best rant, best vent, best beef gets you a free hot beef or ham sandwich from the iconic and legendary Ray's Place on Water Street here in Eau Claire. So we'll recap the loss last night. Well, both games were upsets in terms of lines and favorites and all that stuff. With Tennessee getting a win at the end there too, and dropping the Dolphins to 9-4 on the season. But we'll recap, assess, talk about that loss last night. I think we would all agree Jordan Love not the sharpest last night, missing some throws, high on some throws, just kind of in a funk, right? Just didn't look like the same quarterback that we had seen the last couple weeks. Tommy DeVito, an efficient 17 of 21 for a $158, rating of 113.9. But I was kind of talking about it yesterday. The one thing, I was just like, man, I'm having some flashbacks of a potential Pittsburgh game, and well, the Giants are able to rush for over 200 yards, against Green Bay. Saquon, 20 carries for 86. Tommy DeVito, 10 carries, 71. And that's probably one of the biggest things was Green Bay was not able to get one sack, just a couple quarterback hits. This was a Giants offensive line that was banged up and having having issues protecting the quarterback. And Green Bay not able to get after Tommy DeVito. I mean, did anybody necessarily hear Rashawn Gary's name last night? Didn't hear a whole lot, right? Just 2 quarterback hits, 0 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, 0 pass breakups on 55 plays. So not only were they not able to get after him, you had mistakes on special teams, you had penalties, turnovers. I mean, if you want to go in there and lose a football game, Green Bay showed you how to lose a football game on every phase, special teams, offensively, and defensively. It was ugly. It was not good. It was not good. And could be a little bit worse now too with those injuries for Green Bay in the wide receiving department. So, but we'll hit this up coming up here in just a little bit. We got that. Hey, at least the Bucks won, but they were making it a little bit close last night too. Bulls forcing overtime against the Milwaukee Bucks, but Bucks picking up that W. First game back from the in-season tournament. So I guess that's positive from last night. 133 to 129. Giannis leading away with 32 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists. Bobby Portis, after all the comments, is there a little drama going on? He put up 17 points and 7 rebounds coming off the bench for the Bucks. Next up for Milwaukee, be a little bit of a rematch going up against the Indiana Pacers on Wednesday, 7 p.m. That game again will be in Milwaukee, where Milwaukee is 11-2 at home so far this season. So if you're looking at the standings, Bucks still in third in the Eastern Conference standing, right up there with Orlando for the second best record in the Eastern Conference. Both Orlando and Milwaukee just 1 game back of the Boston Celtics. So we'll talk a little hoops. We'll throw some hoops chat in here. We'll catch up with RJ Cardinal, Badger analyst, Zone and Madison, a little over 2 hours from now. Talk about some Badger hoops. We'll talk about Badger volleyball, their Final Four appearance coming up on Thursday. And then we've got some hockey and such to hit up. Plus, we'll just talk some college football too. Did you guys see this number? I want to talk a little bit about RJ Cardinal and transfer and the transfer portal, because I don't know if you saw this number, but there's over 100 quarterbacks that entered the transfer portal. Did you see that? Over 100 quarterbacks entering the transfer portal. Good Lord. I feel like the transfer portal, if there was one position that benefited from the transfer portal, it's got to be the quarterbacks, especially, quarterback usually only starters going if you're a guy that's, maybe third on the depth chart and such, and feel like you're able to play. You're probably going to go over and enter that portal and see if you can find another shot somewhere else. I mean, for crying out loud, Tommy DeVito last night was a transfer portal guy. Badger fans probably remember him. He was the Illinois starting quarterback when, Illinois beat the Badgers last year. Started off at Syracuse and then Illinois there, and then Paul Chris there. But yeah, a ton of quarterbacks entering the transfer portal. What do you make of that transfer portal? Do you think it's a good thing? Do you think it's a good thing in college football that they have the transfer portal? Do you think they need to alter, which I don't think, I think it's a little too late to be doing that at this point in time, but I guess never say never. Do you think players got to stay at least a couple years at their program? What do you think of the transfer portal, how it currently is in college football, college sports? How do you think? Give me your assessment. All right. Hit me up with those text tweets or Facebook messages. We'll talk a little bit about that. Tomorrow we've got kind of do a little bit of a little bit of a tease here, but tomorrow we are starting a new segment called the Business of Sports, and kind of just breaking down some contracts and numbers and that. but I kind of want to do a little bit of a preview today because we got the numbers for Ohtani. And if you did see this is it's interesting, man. It's interesting. Ohtani's salary for the next up until 2034, dude's only going to get $2 million. $2 million per year for Ohtani. And then once 2034 hits, his deferred payments then run at $68 million per year. So from 2024 to 2033, Ohtani, $2 million per year. $2 million per year. But then once 2034 hits and all the way to 2043, dude gets $68 million per year. That's interesting. So we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive. I was kind of doing some studying on this last night. Some good stuff from Jeff Passan, who I think is my favorite baseball insider out there, but he did a fantastic job breaking that down and such. But again, I want to throw it back to you kind of for a little here's the thing too, like Jeff Passan said, the Dodgers ranked in order of expected salary in 2024. Ohtani is 17th. 17th, just on the Dodgers. So, I mean, again, I don't think baseball can adjust it. I don't think they can change, because I was reading some stuff on the socials. A lot of people, maybe just, didn't like the fact, well, basically, they don't like the fact that teams can do this. And Jeff Passan said, for anyone wondering if Major League Baseball will challenge or cancel the contract, the answer is unequivocally no. There is a specific article in the collective bargaining agreement that addresses this. And it's very clear, deferred money is limitless. Do you think they need to change that, though, in the future? Do you think they need to change that in the future? Ohtani for the next, 8, 9, 10 years going to get $2 million per year? Now, got to pay the piper $68 million in deferred, but right now, as of right now, boy, it apparently was Ohtani's idea. But what's going through your mind when you hear that? Like, man. And don't worry, even though he's going to be living in Cali and LA and money's going to be a little bit more expensive out there, don't worry. Guy's got some endorsements and off-the-field stuff that apparently is around $50 million per year. So I think he'll be okay. I think the frustration, though, from a lot of fans is surrounding the fact that the Dodgers, who, one of the biggest spenders in baseball, are just going to be paying $2 million per year for the next few years here for Ohtani. But hey, what do you got to do? What are you going to do about it? So, but let's get things going here this morning. All right, and don't forget, you can start to hit me up with some of your what's your beef, what's your events for our Raise Place, our Tuesdays Raise Place, what's your beef. Let's get things going here this morning, though. We'll talk some Packers, recapping that loss, the New York Giants. I'm sure that's where quite a few of you will have your beefs, but again, keep it appropriate so I can say it on the air if you want to be in the running for this, for a free hot beef or free hot ham sandwich from the iconic and legendary Ray's Place. 6 and 7. Are you starting now to get worried in these final four? It's the final four. 2 home, 2 away. We got Tampa, who's in a playoff chase. We got Carolina, who's just a mess. Minnesota, playoff chase. The Bears actually playing, believe it or not, a little bit better. 5 and 8 right now. Be curious to know from Bears fans, are you happy? They still probably going to get the number 1 pick because they own Carolinas, but with the way they're playing, coming off of a win against the Lions, they're sitting there at 5 and 8. Does this save Matt Eberflus's job? Are Bears fans okay with that? Does it save maybe Justin Fields' job as a starter for the Bears? Are Bears fans okay with that? I'd be kind of curious to hear from Bears fans on that. But let's hit this up. Let's recap the loss, as painful as it may be for some of you. We'll take that first break, and we'll get the leadoff going here this morning. Chatting a little football, recapping the loss to the Giants, Monday Night Football. Jordan Love didn't look the sharpest. The Joe Barry stock instantly dropped back down too. Looking for that perfect gift or stocking stuffer for someone special in your life? Well, it sounds like you need to make a stop at Cabin Coffee in Altoona. Whether you're looking for a gift card to put in someone's stocking or grabbing a bag of their freshly roasted coffee, Cabin Coffee has something for that coffee-loving person in your life. Plus, they also got mugs and apparels for you to choose from. Along with holidays, temps are dropping them here a bit. I know it's getting a little bit warmer later on this week, but still going to be dropping here. So head on over to Cabin Coffee, grab yourself a warm beverage for this season. Cabin Coffee in Altoona, located in the River Prairie area at 2922 Meadowlark Lane in Altoona. All right, as painful as this may be, let's what do we got going on here? Okay. Let's recap that loss. Kind of vent about it, get it off your chest and move on. Packers falling 29-22 against the New York Giants. A sloppy game from both teams. I think we'd all agree on that. It's just Giants making a few more plays here and there. Giants tried giving it away a few times to the Packers, but Packers not able to capitalize on some of them. But 3 turnovers. I mean, every phase. You could probably look at every phase of this Packers team last night and point to a reason or one of many reasons why they lost. Offensively, turnovers, Jordan Love with a pick, you had a fumble, you had sloppy play from Jordan Love. I mean, especially in the beginning, first half, first 3 quarters, just it looked like he was off his mark, throwing high, missing receivers. Not the quarterback that we had seen these last couple weeks. Defensively, not able to get after Tommy DeVito, not able to even get a sack on him. A guy who had been, racking up the sacks and taking a lot of hits. Green Bay not able to get after him. And not only not able to get after him, allowing him to scramble. Packers giving up over 200 rushing yards in this game. And Tommy's just 17 of 21 and efficient, 17 of 21, $158. You look at this, and a lot of these numbers and a lot of these stat lines look so eerily familiar to that Pittsburgh game, which was what I was really worried about. But over 200 yards given up on the ground. And then special teams. Keyshawn Nixon trying to do too much instead of just jumping on the ball. Trying to pick it up after he muffed the punt. Turning it over, fumbling it there. Special teams, penalties. I mean, you could point to every single phase from the Packers yesterday, from the Packers last night, and point to that or just, I mean, it wasn't one side of the ball that lost it. It was a total team effort last night that lost this game for Green Bay. Total team effort. And it's frustrating for a lot of fans, especially coming off of a win against Kansas City, a win against Detroit, had that win against the Chargers, riding that 3-game winning streak. You're going into New York with a backup quarterback, feeling good. You got confidence rolling here. And you come out looking like that. It's frustrating. It's disappointing. Is it also probably to be expected from a younger and inexperienced team? Probably. But at the same time, Green Bay had a hell of a chance in front of them to increase that lead, increase that gap just a skosh in terms of widening it from the other teams chasing a playoff spot. They had an opportunity, right? They had that in front of them. That's what you want as a team. You don't want to rely on others. You want to take care of your own business. And they weren't able to get it done last night. And it's disappointing. It's incredible, especially when they were given plenty of opportunities in that game to get it done. And, back to Love. Had a good stretch of games, had a good, few games there. Is he going to be perfect every single week? No, not especially in the beginning of his career, his young career. I hope everybody who jumped on the Jordan Love bandwagon after these last 2 games isn't jumping off already after last night's performance. I hope that's not the case. I hope we're not that quick to to make that decision. Hopefully, he can bounce back going up against Tampa Bay and have a better performance over there at home because right now it's crunch time. These are playoff games. These are playoff games against Tampa, against Carolina, against Minnesota, and at Chicago. You wanna you wanna have a little bit of a preview of what the postseason's like. You wanna have a little bit of a thoughts on what the postseason's gonna be like. You gotta treat these next four like they're postseason games. You hope Jordan Love can bounce back from a game like he had last night. Just a little off. Decision making, accuracy, kind of gave you glimpses of his performance in October. But I think maybe one individual last night whose stock was rising. I know we do a stock report Wednesday, but an individual whose stock was rising, did it kind of plummet a little bit? And plummet might be a little bit dramatic, but you got to wonder, did it drop quite a bit? And that's Joe Barry. I think was it Aikman who, I mean, depending on the telecast you were watching, whether you're watching the Manning cast or Aikman and Buck and such, but I think it was Aikman last night too that said towards the beginning of the game. So I just don't understand why you wouldn't just put 8 in the box, load up that box, stop in the run. And I'm like, Troy, I think you're channeling the majority, if not all, Packers fans out there. We talked about it yesterday. Stopping the run, stopping Saquon Barkley, stopping, their running attack. And for the most part, I mean, they did a decent job of stopping Saquon Barkley up until, he had that 34-yard scamper. I mean, for a long time, they were doing a decent job at stopping Barkley. The thing was, they were doing an awful job of stopping the quarterback from scrambling. He was able to step up in that pocket and scamper and scramble, not collapsing the pocket. Green Bay couldn't collapse that pocket. They're getting him on the edges, and he's able to just kind of step up. Or when, if it came up over the middle, he was able to have that clear path on the outside, on the edge there. I mean, it was kind of also giving me a little bit of flashbacks to Justin Herbert. When Justin Herbert for the Chargers was able to, you know, scamper and rack up some rushing yards against this defense. That's probably one of the most frustrating things that maybe doesn't get highlighted too often is, and I know Green Bay fans are probably having flashbacks to the, you know, early 2010s teens out there, but stopping mobile quarterbacks. Going back to that Chargers game, Justin Herbert was the leader in rushing for the Chargers. 8 carries, 73 yards. Last night, Tommy DeVito, 10 carries, 71 yards, long of 26. Is it is it assignments? Is it, it's probably a bunch of different reasons over there. But I think from a fan's standpoint, I think majority fans, I don't want to speak for all of them, but I think for some fans out there, after last night's performance and the inability to stop the run, whether it was from a quarterback or running back, especially at the end when it's crunch time and they're going to be running the football, and you still struggled to stop it a little bit there. Again, they did a decent job for the most part against Saquon Barkley, but when it came down to that stretch, they couldn't. So I think for a lot of fans, maybe that stock that was starting to rise up a little bit for Joe Barry, I think those fans who don't want Joe Barry back next year as defensive coordinator are probably a little bit more vocal now. Maybe they were quiet the last couple weeks, but maybe a little bit more vocal now because of that performance. But I mean, look at these numbers. This is a total team effort. Total team effort in terms of losing last night's game. 3 turnovers. You lost the turnover battle. You only picked up 5. You only converted, excuse me, 5 third downs. You were in the red zone, you were in the red zone 5 times, only came away with 2 touchdowns. You had that missed field goal. Can't get after the quarterback. No sacks, just a couple of quarterback hits. For again, as we mentioned a little bit earlier, for a quarterback who has been taking a lot of sacks and an offensive line for the Giants, you had Andrew Thomas over there. He's good, but kind of in flux over there. Not able to get after him. Not able to get after him. Other teams have been able to get after him. Why weren't you? I mean, you gotta give some credit to the Giants, right? I mean, it's fair is fair. You gotta give some credit to the Giants there. Gotta give some credit to DeVito too, from, using his legs, being mobile, escaping some of that, but man, to not have, like a Rashawn Gary kind of get after him, Preston, any of those guys. You know, saw this nugget last night too about, the 200 yards rushing and, with the Giants going over 200 yards. Just how important is Quay Walker to this defense? Saw that Ryan Wood, who covers the Packers. Giants finished with 209 rushing yards. Second time since September, the Packers have allowed over 200 yards, over 200 rushing yards in a game, joining Pittsburgh. Probably not a coincidence. Quay Walker was inactive both games. So, is that an indicator just how important number 7 is to this defense, to that linebacking group? And you kinda have to wonder if Quay Walker's on that field last night, is DeVito able to step up or hit the edges and scamper for all those yards? How important is Quay Walker to to the success of this defense? Is he an underrated person, player for this defense? I think so. I think so. Does he make the difference in the game last night if he's on that field? Honestly, I think he does. Yeah, I mean, he can't go I mean, he's not gonna fix the issues that were on offense, and he's not gonna fix the issues that were on special teams, but maybe just a couple of stops or a few more stops. He's got something there. Maybe because I feel like next year, not to get too far into the future or anything like that, but I feel like next year, your starting inside linebackers are gonna be Quay Walker and McDuffie. Like, Devondre Campbell's on his way out. We see McDuffie making some plays here or there. Is he, Pro Bowl caliber type of linebacker? No. Packers love him. Matt LaFleur loves him. Made a couple nice plays last night. But not having Quay Walker on that field last night, I think really, really hurt Green Bay in terms of trying to contain DeVito, containing a mobile quarterback. But overall, this was a team effort, complete team effort in losing last night's game. I mean, looking at just 4 tackles for loss. You had 0 passes defended. 0 passes defended. 0. Nada. Compared to, Giants had 6, okay? But 0 quarterback hits. Giants had 8. Packers, 2. 2. And those quarterback hits actually all came from Rashawn Gary. 2 total quarterback hits in last night's game on this defense, and they all came from Rashawn Gary. I mean, the Packers' offensive line struggled last night, perhaps their best offensive lineman from this year. Zach Tom was struggling a little bit. Ah, total team effort in this loss. Now, hopefully, this is something that they can rebound because it's a short week. You've got a team that's also fighting for a playoff spot, Tampa Bay, coming to town. Hopefully, they can rebound in this thing and pick up that win coming up on Sunday. But again, they may be shorthanded, man. They may be incredibly shorthanded from the wide receiving department because Wicks went out. It sounds like he's got a high ankle sprain. He's going to be out for a bit. Jane Reed was getting tested for a concussion. You already got Christian Watson out. So there's a good chance that your top 3 wide receivers for this upcoming game against Tampa Bay, Romeo, Malik Heath, and Toure. That could be your top 3 receivers heading into this game. Not to mention Luke Musgrave still on injured reserve. Tucker Kraft, though, I mean, if we want to kind of talk about some positives, is Tucker Kraft taking advantage of his opportunity with extended playing time in the passing department with no Luke Musgrave. I mean, his last couple games now, 6 targets against Kansas City, 37 yards, 4 targets last night, 64 yards. But that group just got a whole lot more inexperienced and a whole lot more younger, and it's crunch time in these final 4. Yeesh. It's gonna be interesting to watch this injury report this week. Oh, fingers crossed, though, that maybe one of those guys will be able to come back. I don't know, though. It's frustrating. I get it. It's incredibly frustrating. A lot of disappointed fans, a lot of disappointed people on social media watching this game. I was disappointing. It was frustrating watching it. Should we expect these type of performances once in a while from a very young and inexperienced team? Yeah, we probably should. We probably should. Is it an excuse for last night? It's not an excuse, but we should probably expect these once in a while. Can still be disappointed about it. Can still be frustrated by it. No doubt about it. But I hope that there's not too many fans, Packers fans out there jumping off the bus, jumping off the boat after last night. Was it ugly? It was absolutely ugly. It was awful. But hey, if we want to be a little positive, they're still in the playoff chase. If you're still kind of eyeing that up, still playing some meaningful football in the middle of December. Hey, now the pressure of Matt LaFleur, I guess, remaining undefeated in December is off his back with that loss last night. Don't have to have that graphic up there anymore, although they probably will. Coming up against Tampa Bay, was it 16-1 now? But I hope there's not too many fans just kind of saying, "See, told you all along, Jordan Love's not the guy." I think we need to, if you are, gotta just pump the brakes there a little bit. Okay, pump the brakes a little bit. Or anybody saying, "See, this team is awful. Knew it, knew it since the beginning." Let's roll. Let's stop. Okay, we knew that this was going to be a roller coaster. We should have had those expectations. It's not to remove any blame or excuse them from last night's game because there was no excuse for last night's game. They had plenty of opportunities to wrap it up, but we should probably expect these once in a while from this team with this inexperience. And you just hate to see it when they have a chance to kind of really solidify themselves as a postseason team, or I should say really solidify, but increase that gap there. And when it comes to December, you don't like to see these type of games when it gets into December. You don't like to see it, but odds are with the makeup of this team and the structure of this team, it was probably bound to happen in one of these few games. Probably was. All right, let's take a break. We'll wrap up the first hour After these quick words. What's something that's practical yet something that's really cool and something you really want for Christmas this year? I knew it. It's that new floor in your home. So instead of adding something you don't need on your Christmas list this year, just ask Santa for that one thing you really want. And that's a brand new floor from Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. From top of the line carpets to gorgeous luxury vinyl planks, whatever style of flooring you're looking for, Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire has just that. And let me tell you a little secret here, too, because my sources have told me that the big guy himself, Santa, uses Carpet City Flooring Center for his own floors. We're talking the workshop. We're talking his home, you name it. Carpet City Flooring Center, pretty darn popular up there in the North Pole. So go on over to Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. Take a look around at all the options and styles they have, and let the team at Carpet City Flooring Center help you select the best floor that you want to add on your Christmas wish list this year. They'll even set you up with an install date and everything. Make your Christmas just a bit more magical this year with a brand new floor from Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. All right, we'll check out some of your texts coming up just past the top of the hour here. But if you want to continue to send us your thoughts on the game last night, you can go ahead and do so. Hit us up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912. Don't forget, it is a Ray's Place. What's your beef? So best beef, best vent, best, how grind my gears, however you want to phrase it. We're going to send you a certificate for a free hot beef or ham sandwich. Coming up next hour, too, we'll talk a little hoops. The Bucks picking up a W last night against the Chicago Bulls, even though it took to overtime to get there. But also, we're going to talk with RJ Cardinal coming up at about 8:20. But question I kind of threw out to all of you was, do you like the idea of the transfer portal in college sports and in college football? Because I saw this number the other day for quarterbacks in college football. There's over 100 quarterbacks who entered the transfer portal. Yeah, here's the number: 106. This was it might actually be more because this was actually a couple days ago. But 106 quarterbacks in the transfer portal. 106 quarterbacks in the transfer portal. Man. And then the other question I kind of threw out to you is, with Ohtani's contract, do you think Major League Baseball now? I honestly don't think they'll be able to do it because of it's in the CBA collective bargaining agreement, and well, we all know the history between Major League Baseball and their players union. But do you think Major League Baseball, for future contracts, has to do something about the deferred money? Because in case you missed it, Ohtani is only getting paid $2 million per year in terms of salary up until 2034. And then he gets deferred payments of $68 million. $68 million for up until 2043 over there. So it's a team-friendly deal. Although Ohtani is also, he's getting a good chunk of change from his endorsements and off the field stuff over there too. But as Andrew Brandt noted yesterday, when the numbers started to finally come out there, he said that it's a team friendly deal. It's a team friendly deal. So yeah, unreal. I couldn't believe that when that popped out. $2 million per year for the next few years. And then, I mean, he might call it a career after 2034 because he's getting paid $68 million per year. I mean, I think a lot of us, if not all of us, would love a career like that. Play baseball maybe for 10 more years and then sit on your fanny and then collect $68 million per year after that. Whew, man. All right, so you can hit us up with those texts too. Maybe that's part of your What's Your Beef Tuesday with Ray's Play, 715-830-1912. We'll get back to some more green and gold chats as well. give us your thoughts on the game. Has Joe Barry's stock fallen? That's probably an easy question for a lot of people out there. But how far has it fallen after last night's game? Do you put more blame on the defense, the offense, the special teams? Are you one way or the other? I'll tell you right now. For me, it was a total team effort last night. I don't know if I can realistically just pick one area, one side, one phase. I don't think I can fully blame the offense or fully blame the defense or even the special teams. It was a complete total team effort over there. So, but if you got something else, you can let us know. We'll get back to some of your texts coming up just past the top of the hour. Say good morning, Morgan.
You did the whole night, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. How bad are you feeling it today?
It's early yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
As I just finished my coffee there.
yeah, it's more like taking coffee as shots this morning. Do you, when you know the writing's on the wall and it's kind of a stinker, do you go to bed? Nope, you stick it out to the very last
Yeah,
play.
because I got to watch pressers and all that.
Does it
So,
take a while for you to decompress? Yeah, that's kind of what I figured.
yes.
Yeah.
And it's at that point too where it's like it ain't worth it going to sleep. So,
Oh, you're just pushing through.
yep.
All
Yep,
right. So
exactly.
what's your rating of the game overall?
Poo ugly.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
kind of ugly,
it was a
wasn't it?
stinker.
So let's suit up then and go, okay, if we could write an alternate history. If you, Dan Kasper, could suit up and play any position, we'll keep it in football because $700 million contracts aside, we're going to talk baseball right now. What position, two things, do you think is underrated in football? And what position would you suit up as if you were on the roster?
Underrated, I would go an offensive lineman. What I would suit up as wide receiver.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would be your go-to?
Yep.
That's your favorite play?
Yeah.
What about if you're switching sports now and getting record contract deals like the Major League Baseball system here? Where would you put yourself on the field?
If it was just for baseball,
Mhm.
for baseball, I mean, I'd love to play shortstop, but
That's Siggy's favorite when she suits up for softball. She likes that.
maybe a little second base.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Siggy Folly's between shortstop and second base too.
Yeah.
Do you think it's underrated?
Shortstop's not underrated. I would
But you
say
think
second is probably underrated. Although, yeah, especially now with the new rules with the banning of the ship, the second is a
Okay.
little underrated.
And where do you fall on contracts like this one that's making record numbers?
Well, did you see the deferred payments?
68 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Those are numbers I can't even wrap my head around. But do you think that screams for salary cap, or do you like the argument against free?
There will never be a salary cap in baseball. That's gone by the wayside. Players union won't agree to it.
Yeah.
I do wonder if something will be changed to the deferred money, because Otani's just getting $2 million per year for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
And then he gets deferred money at
Right.
68 million. Maybe that potentially could change where there's a cap on that. I don't know.
Do you think anyone's worth that kind of money though? I mean, just flat out.
No.
Yeah.
I'll just be no.
That's kind of the easy answer.
Yeah.
You see numbers like that, and I think the same. I think no matter how big of a baseball fan you are, even if you're a Dodgers fan, it doesn't matter. It's not about being a fan at that point. It's just about sheer common sense.
It's more, I don't think it's based off of play. I think a lot of it's going to come from the marketing because now you got the Japan market.
Oh, yeah, for sure, and that just opens up big money.
Yeah.
Well, like, everything, if you pull at the thread long enough, it's gonna come back to dollars somehow.
Yeah,
So it's gonna be capitalism at the root of it.
It was like when Yao Ming came to the NBA in China.
I remember that, yeah.
And all that attention and money and all that came into. So it's a marketing.
Does that make you more or less apt to watch it? Because now it's almost like pressure, dude. You're making this much money. We better see some mad swinging.
I think so.
Yeah?
I just hope we get to see him more on TV than what we did with the Angels.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think with this, it's got to be written in the contract somewhere.
Exactly.
Should have a certain number of required minutes for viewing at that price tag.
Thanks, Marks.
Hey, thank you.
Second hour kicking off on this Tuesday morning, December 12th. Appreciate you tuning in wherever, however you may be tuning in from. Coming up, we'll get back to some more green and gold chats after the Packers fall to the New York Giants last night, 24-22. Packers still holding on to the 7th seed in the playoffs, if the playoffs were to start today, thanks to the various tiebreakers out there because yeah, you've got a boatload of teams in the NFC sitting there at 6 and 7, but the Packers, because of the various tiebreakers out there, still holding on. And well, right now, if the playoffs started, today or tomorrow, they'd be going to Dallas to visit Mike McCarthy and Dallas Cowboys here, just to kind of give you a glimpse of where all these tiebreakers are coming into play here. It's a lot. Green Bay wins tiebreak over the Rams based on head-to-head. Wins tiebreak over Atlanta based on best win percentage in conference games. Division tiebreak was initially used to eliminate Seattle. Division tiebreak was initially used to eliminate New Orleans. Blah, 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 blah. A lot. A lot. And then you got a couple teams now who are 5-8, which includes the Giants and the Chicago Bears. So not completely far out from those two teams either. So let's kick off this second hour, though, with some sports nuggets. Let's go. The wooden golf tee was patented on this day in 1899. George Grant patented the wooden golf tee. Arthur Ashe became the first African-American man to be ranked number 1 in tennis. Bobby Hull, 1971, scored his 1,000th point. Joe Namath played his last game with the New York Jets in 1976. Wayne Gretzky became the quickest to reach 50 goals in a season on this day in 1981. It was in his 39th game. Let's go with Texas Rangers. Oh, talking about big contracts. 2000, Texas Rangers signed Alex Rodriguez to a record-breaking 10-year, $252 million contract. The contract amount broke all Major League Baseball records and all professional sports records. I remember that day 23 years ago. Now you look at a 10-year, $252 million deal, and that's probably a bargain. I might have a kind of a what-if question coming up for you. Really, change the mood a little bit because you're a little down with the Packers loss and that. Yeah, let me see if there's a couple other. Oh, yes, this day, 13 years ago. Probably can, as soon as I say it, you're going to remember the image. You can probably play it in your mind. The collapse of the inflatable roof at the Metrodome caused the cancellation of a game between the Giants and the Vikings. The teams played the next day at Detroit's Ford Field. You can still picture it, right? I'm playing it right now in my mind when that roof collapsed because of that snow. There you have it. 13 years ago already. Those are just some of your sports nuggets of the day. All right. So you had the A-Rod. Just kind of a fun question. I'll go through some text here because I want to lighten the mood here a little bit. Let's have a little fun with this one. So, anniversary 23 years ago, A-Rod set the largest contract in all of professional sports. Ohtani just did that officially yesterday, as the Dodgers officially announced it yesterday. Any era, any sport, any era, any sport. Let's keep it to the 4 of, hockey, basketball, football, and baseball. Let's keep it to the 4 because then you're kind of getting into individualized sports like golf and that. And I don't want to go down that one. We're talking like players who have to play under a contract. Yeah, we could throw soccer in there too. Any era, though, any era, for a player from any era into today's world, who? And let's just assume the contracts are the same. Okay, football, you don't have a salary cap. Basketball, you don't have the luxury tax. Baseball, I know you kind of have a luxury tax. competitive balance tax, whatever the heck they call it. But let's just assume contracts are the same all across sports. I think you know where I'm going with this already. But a player from any era into today's world in their prime, any sport, who would be the highest? Who should be the highest paid? Who should be the highest paid? So is it Michael Jordan? Is it, and again, we're assuming all contracts are equal. We know all contracts aren't equal in sports right now, but let's just have a little fun. We got to lighten the mood here a little bit because we've got some, people a little down on this Tuesday morning after last night's loss. So let's kind of lighten the mood and have a little fun conversation. Any era, any sport. And I might put this up in our Man Cave Conversations Facebook group. And if you're not a member of our Facebook group, you're missing out on some combos there. But I can send you the link if you hit me a text. But any era, a player from any era in today's day, contracts are all equal. Who would get the most amount of money? So essentially, I'm saying you can maybe for some, well, who's the best player of all time? Boom. Or maybe you're thinking, okay, got to think of a worldwide type of appeal too. You could go about it different ways. Is it a Gretzky? Is it still Brady? Is it a Jordan? Is it a soccer player like Beckham? Is it Ronaldo? Is it still Ohtani? Think about that for a little bit. Let's have some fun with that. All right. Hit me up with the text 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line. Shoe Doctor's bullpen line. So let's go. Let's catch up on some of these texts here. Brian, good morning from Brian and the card collecting club. I see, this was a while ago, so I don't know if Brian still is. I see a lot of bashing the Packers after the game last night. If you'd have told me at the beginning of the season that they would be 6-7 right now, probably would have said, wow, that is better than I thought they would be. This team is young. This team is inexperienced. This team is missing all pros, used loosely this year. Jair Alexander, all pro, when healthy, David Bakhtiari. Starting wide receiver number 1, that is now in question, Christian Watson. Starting running back number 1, Aaron Jones, and starting linebacker Quay Walker. When you have key players that influence a game, it is hard to make up for that. But this team is learning and growing. You can't learn if you don't make mistakes. Give this team a chance. This year is going to have probably a lot more downs than ups. Still love them. Living a Dream Jeff, morning, that was a disaster. Loves footwork, reverted back to throwing while falling backwards instead of driving forward. Bears defense didn't contain their quarterback. Nixon wanting to do too much on a muff punt and very poor clock management with 2 minutes to go in the red zone. LaFleur looked like the only person that was fired up for the game. Living a dream. I'm a little annoyed I took off work for that. And Tommy's parents were on TV more than Taylor Swift. Packers were not prepared for this game. This was a big reality check for Packers Nation. That's from Mike. G-Man, Packers will win the rest of their games this year. Run the ball and throw the ball in the flat, and you will get that first down and move the chains. Sure, G-Man. To your second half over there. P.S. I have the Jordan Love jersey on now. Don't jump off the bridge. Team is still young. Dave from Ray's Place. Surveyor. My beef is how terrible everyone played last night. My goodness. Matt LaFleur, coach, probably the worst game of his career. Love throwing the ball like a 7-year-old. Defense can't stop a backup quarterback, and probably worst of all, Nixon fumbling and then fumbling again. Just boneheaded moves from all phases. They played down to the competition instead of their potential, and that's what bugs me the most. Yeah, you're right too, Surveyor. I think that was a lot of the chit chat on the dark webs, if you will, the dark webs of social media. Packers playing down to their competition. So, I'll save the transfer ones coming up here just a little bit later on here. Goat G-Man, always love his optimism. Defense gave this game away. Barry's a problem. Needs to be let go. First off, 200 yards rushing is awful. The quarterback ran for 70-plus yards. Enough said. Pass game, no 5-6-man pressures. Offense, predictable. LaFleur didn't have a good game in the 2 points. End around is just bad. They were keyed on it after the touchdown there. So we got a couple more here. Oh, going with the football LT. All right, got that one there. Another one over here. Everybody's that's so critical for this Packers game. This is from Ben. Everybody is so critical for the Packers game. I understand the frustration. I understand the annoyance. It was an ugly game last night, but at the same point in time, this is a very inexperienced team. Everybody who says that they're tired of the young and inexperienced reasoning, just stop it. Facts are facts. This team is playing a lot better than what a lot of us probably should have expected. Down game last night, no doubt about it, but we should expect these ups and downs. A lot of you have so high expectations that you will never be able to live up to them with your favorite team. Okay, that's from Ben over there. So, all right. Going to the transfer portal question. Jeff, with the transfer portal, I would agree that it shouldn't be opened up until after all the bowl games have played. I also think that this also creates a lack of commitment from a generation who is already spoiled and everything's handed over on a silver spoon. I would like to see at least a 2-year commitment before transfer is allowed. We got Surveyor. There needs to be some sort of repercussion for transfer players. Universities spend how much money traveling around the country, scouting, offering, visiting their homes, and building relationships only for the players to be gone in a year. That's not right. I recommend if a player transfers, he cannot get a scholarship. Either that or all NIL money you've made becomes null and void. But some things got to stop because there are currently over 1,500 kids who are transferring. Another text coming in here, just catching up on some of them here. But John also saying, good to hear that at least there's a couple of true fans out there who still support the team out there. Everybody that is already jumping off the wagon, and you guys are not true Pack. Okay, let's try not to. So one thing that bugs me after Packer losses is Packer fans going after each other. That's one thing that just bugs me. Come on, we all cheer for the same team, right? We all cheer for the same team. We got this is from Jordan. Jordan saying definitely a disappointing game last night. It was in the hands for the Packers. They were given multiple opportunities, but you were correct that every phase was to be at fault last night. Special teams, defense, and offense. It was a collective team effort. Still love my Packers. This is probably to be expected with a very young and inexperienced team going through these ups and downs. Another text that just came in, Eric saying, in regards to the young and inexperienced, I've also seen a lot of people discrediting that. It's a real thing, people, especially with their rookies. A lot of these guys have only played 12 games in a season for their college careers. They've surpassed that right now in the NFL. A lot of you haven't even played football, so you don't even know what it's like. Give these guys a break. Give these youngsters a break. A lot of these kids are still in their early 20s trying to learn to play a professional game. All right. Didn't know we were going to go down that path, but apparently we've gone down that path about the whole inexperienced stuff out there. So, all right. We'll get back to some more talks or some more, I guess, Ray's Place beefs, right? Ray's Place beefs out there, venting them out there. Keep them coming, but keep it appropriate too, so I can say them on the air. All right, so I can say them on the air. Hoops wise, maybe I'll save the hoops talk for a little bit later. Bucks picking up the win. I think everybody wants to vent about Packers last night. I think everybody wants to kind of vent about that a little bit. Actually, surprised, Surveyor, you that was kind of your beef, talking about how bad they played. Surprised in the fact because you've been a big. I'm not saying, Surveyor, you're jumping off the Jordan Love bandwagon or anything like that. I should say bandwagon. That's probably the wrong word to use, but you know what I mean. So, but yeah, it was a frustrating game last night, but I don't know. I think just me personally, it's probably to be expected at some point in time with this type of team, with how it's constructed and all that. And Brian made a good point. You're missing a lot of players who are getting paid a lot of money, salary cap wise, who haven't been playing. And you're thrusting in a lot of inexperienced guys. So it was probably to be expected, at least in one of these final 5 games. One of these games is probably going to come up. Maybe there's another one or not, but hey, still 6-7. Let's take the G-man approach and stay the ever optimistic. Still in a playoff spot. Will they get waxed in the first round? Probably, but hopefully they can continue to grow. Hopefully they can continue to get better at that too. But keep your picks coming, or keep your text coming. 715-830-1912. Let's take a quick break. We'll get back to more. And keep your thoughts coming on the transfer portal. Keep your money on that transfer portal. Or keep your thoughts coming on transfer portal. Spit it out, Dan. Prepare for the holidays with your local holiday headquarters, Hy-Vee in Eau Claire. Whether you're looking to prepare for a big holiday feast or looking to grab some party platters, Hy-Vee in Eau Claire has everything you need to make your holiday get-togethers just a little bit extra special this year. And remember, Hy-Vee in Eau Claire is your local headquarters for all of your catering needs for those work Christmas parties. From a wide selection in their meat department, bakery goods as far as the eye can see, and a massive wine and spirits department, Hy-Vee has something for everyone. Plus, you can even get some Christmas shopping done with their new toy aisles and new sports shop. Plus, you want to pick up some 4-packs of Man Cave Light. Those will always make a good gift for Christmas this year. Get ready for the holidays with the help from our good friends Hy-Vee in Eau Claire. Surveyor saying, I'm just disappointed that they played down instead of up to their potential. I'm still on the love train. Just disappointed in the way they played and how the game was coached. Eau Claire or EC Ryan. Hey, Dan, this is my beef. Packers always lose to backup quarterbacks. It's sad, but it's expected. They play too vanilla on defense. They had a week to scheme up a game plan against this I think you meant Giants offense and execute. We did it to a T. It's too basic of a defense. They didn't show any pressure, and that's why the Giants succeeded. All right, so we'll continue to recap the loss from last night. Packers 6-7 now, still holding on to that final playoff spot right now. It's a jumbled mess there, but the Packers holding on to the tiebreakers right now. 4 games left to go here to finish this thing strong here. Joe, if you had to pinpoint the big reason why this team lost last night, can you do it? Or was it, like I mentioned in the first hour, a total team effort? Every single phase was the reason why this team lost last night.
Every single thing. Joe Barry, Matt LaFleur, Rich Bisaccia, the players, they went into this game flat. And I know Matt LaFleur with coach speak, when he was asked, did you see this coming this week? And he said, no, we had a great week of practice. Well, no coach is going to say, yeah, we sucked at this week at practice. And so I think, he was asked last week, Matt LaFleur was, after the Chiefs game, how will this team handle prosperity? We've seen how they handled adversity. Now, how are they going to handle prosperity? And Matt LaFleur said, well, I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to see about that. And so, you almost kind of knew somewhere along the line they were going to have a game like this. And what you say to yourself is you have a game like this, but then if you can find a way to still win, that's a huge feather in your cap. And with 1:36 to go, it looked like Green Bay had done that. And again, when you talk about whose fault is it, Jordan Love did not play a good game. Jordan Love had 2 turnovers. Keyshawn Nixon with a muff punt. But really 2 plays from a coaching standpoint really stand out in my mind, and one was the 2-point conversion. You just couldn't run that read end around again, and they had 6 defensive backs in the game, and so they had the speed to cover the outside, and where they were vulnerable was in the middle of the defense, in the heart of the defense. And then turning it to the defensive side of the ball, Joe Barry, you're rushing 4 and you're playing man to man. You're just asking for trouble at that point. And so, yeah, this is one of those where you can do the Spider-Man thing and you can have about, 10 Spider-Mans pointing at each other and saying it was your fault. And this was a team meltdown, a team collapse, a monumental one. But, it's interesting, Captain, because as I tweeted to you earlier, in Aaron Rodgers' first season, his 13th game of the year, the Packers lost on a walk-off field goal to the Texans. And here we are with Love's first season, and we've already gone through the comparisons between the two, and the Packers lose in his 13th game with a walk-off field goal. So, the key on a short week, though, you got Tampa Bay coming in, and you still control your own destiny, and this is a game you must win.
Looking at this team, and we've had a few listeners kind of chime in and say, no more excuses about how young they are. This is the NFL. They got to play up to that level. To me personally, I think that's a lazy take. I feel like there is something to being a little inexperienced, to being a little bit young at this point in time. And how much did that? What's your thought on it? And how much did that affect last night's result?
Yeah, look at what's happening to Detroit right now. And so there's a certain arc you go through as a football team. And if you go back to the 90s with the Green Bay Packers, and you know, you get out of you get over 500, you get to 9-7. This is, of course, when Favre joined the Packers, and you get to 9-7, and then you start seeing how this team learns how to win. And I think there's something to be said for a young team learning how to win. And again, you go back to the similarities in 2008 with Aaron Rodgers. That team was in almost every game, but lost so many close games that year. And again, this is a team, and you look at it, it's really interesting because the Packers, for the most part this year, have been in every game. And earlier on in the year, it was the offense that had a chance to pull it out at the end, and they just couldn't. And you flip it around, Jordan Love leads them on a game-winning drive, potentially, and it was the defense that let him down. So there is something to be said about a young team learning how to win. So do I put a lot of credibility into it at this stage of the season? Not as much as you started the season, because we said, look, this is a team that's probably going to get better as the season goes on. But yeah, there is still definitely something to be said for having youth and experience. And it was interesting too, Captain, just as a side note, Packers have the youngest offense in the NFL. Giants had the youngest defense in the NFL. So you had two teams really going at it, two young teams, two young sides of the ball going at it last night. And obviously, you know, the Giants had the better hand.
Mm-hmm. Packers might be a little shorthanded heading into this game against Tampa Bay in the receiving department. Jaden Reed got evaluated for concussion. Dontavian Wick said after the game that he's got a high ankle sprain, which means he might be out for a couple weeks. So your receivers for this game against Tampa Bay, Joseph, might be Romeo Doubs, it might be Toure, and then it might be Malik Heath, who had the touchdown last night. How does the offense put up points with that receiving core against Tampa Bay?
Well, you know, look, a big question is going to be, is 33 and or 9 going to be able to come back? And so that's I think the biggest question. And from an optimistic standpoint, the fact that 33 was able to practice on a limited basis most of last week, it says something there. And then you look at where 9 is. And look, you know, you talk about Christian Watson and you say, you know, what does this guy really mean to the Packers? You know, he's been inconsistent. Well, the thing about it is the little things in an offense is if you've got a guy that continually can take the top off a defense and at least put that worry into that defense and put them in a situation where they're doing bracket coverage or over the top coverage, it changes everything underneath. And so, yeah, you know, right now, today, yeah, it does not look good, but we gotta get into the practice this week on a short week. We got to realize what we got out of 9. We got to realize out of 33. We got to get to the Jaden Reed proclamation. And look, I'm not surprised that he had a concussion. You know, the end around 42 times in a game, he's probably going to get hurt one of those times. And so, yeah, this is one of those things. Though. This is the NFL. Every team right now, this time of year, has injuries. Every team right now has issues, and it's a next man step up mentality. And look, Matt LaFleur needs to do his best job this week, and he needs to put this team in a position to be successful. And I just didn't think, again, the coaching staff did that last night before the game, and I don't think they adjusted in the game. And so, injuries or not, Matt LaFleur needs to put this one on him and put together a terrific game plan.
Looking at this, you know, upcoming game here too. You're 6-7. You got a bunch of other teams chasing you at this point. You know, do you feel like this team right now can, you know, maybe that kind of relates to your point too, because they got a target on their back, Joe. And, you know, are you starting to get a glimpse of a team that doesn't know how to play with it? You know what I'm getting at? Like, you know, they're in that final playoff spot. You know, it just seems like is that inexperience come through again where they can't handle that having that target on their spot because they don't have that experience yet?
Yeah, look, that's going back to what I was saying, is learning how to win. And this team right now, we've seen them go through adversity, and we've seen them come out on top. And now we're seeing adversity again. And then the question is, can they rally and rebound again? So, yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, when you're the hunter, it's much different, and it's a different dynamic and a mental state when you're the hunted. And so, yeah, I think, you know, and credit to the Giants coaching staff and players. And you're seeing it with the Bears now, and you saw it with Dan Campbell last year. Look, we're not getting in the playoffs, but you know what? We're going to stop you from getting in as well. And you could take a sense of pride in that. So, yeah, there's no question. Green Bay right now, with the success they've had, and again, I do think this too. I think this team, going back to it, I think they were reading their own press clippings. And I think that happens especially with a young team. So, yeah, it's a different dynamic. And going back to it, this is up to the coaching staff to coach them through this and put them in a position to be successful and play their very best, no matter who the opponent is.
What the heck is going on with the mindset of rotating these offensive linemen in at the right guard and the left tackle spot? Because there seems to be no flow about it. It just seems to be, hey, we're going to put them in at this time. Maybe it's certain packages they want to run and all that. But what's your thoughts on, once in a while they'll throw in Yash, and then once in a while they'll throw in Sean Ryan in there. I mean, I don't necessarily like that, but what are your thoughts on that?
I hate it. From an offensive line perspective, it's the one unit that you need continuity. It's the one unit you need communication. It's the one unit that cries for consistency. And so I hate it. And as far as I'm concerned, I watched enough football this year, of the Packers, and watched enough film. Sean Ryan's your right guard. And I like John Runyon Jr. I do. But you look at the base between the two, and too many times John Runyon gets pushed into the quarterback's lap. And Sean Ryan's got much, much, much bigger base to work with. As far as the left tackle position goes, you got to stick with one and ride with it. I just think there's way too much inconsistency. So the offensive line needs to work as one. And when you're rotating two guys in all the time, it throws everybody off. It throws the communication off. And again, these are different types of players. So it affects Josh Myers, because Josh Myers says, okay, Sean Ryan, he's a bigger guy. He's going to be able to move that 3 technique in front of him. So I don't need to double him so I can get to the linebacker. Whereas John Runyon doesn't have that power behind him. So yeah, now I've got to play the double team a little bit longer. So it affects everyone on the line, and I absolutely hate it. And again, this goes back to Matt LaFleur growing as a coach and self-scouting and looking back within and saying, how can I get better as a coach? And I think that's one of the things, when he looks at this season, he's going to say, probably not the best move that Adam Stenavich and he are making as far as that offensive line goes.
Ryan Wood had this little nugget. Ryan Wood covers the Packers, PackersNews.com. Giants finished with 209 rushing yards. Second time since September, the Packers have allowed over 200 rushing yards in a game, joining Pittsburgh. Probably not a coincidence. Quay Walker was inactive both games. If Quay Walker's on that field last night, is he a difference? Is he enough of a difference where Green Bay squeaks out that win?
Well, the thing about it is what you got is Quay Walker's ability to spy the quarterback, and I got to hand it to DeVito. I got to, even though I got to tell you, and I'm Sicilian, but I felt like I was watching an episode of Sopranos last night. Seeing his family and seeing his agents and everything, I'm just like, wow, this is
got more TV time than Taylor Swift, man. Yeah.
Well, I know. I was almost going to go to my Tony Soprano and say, I want some gabagoo. I want some gabagoo. But the fact that they never adapted or adjusted to him breaking the pocket, and because DeVito was not going to beat you with his arm. He wasn't. And you saw earlier on in the game, it was dink and dunk, dink and dunk, dink and dunk. And he was able to escape many a time where the Packers, I thought, lost their composure and lost their discipline, their lane discipline, if you will, on rushing the passer. And so, yeah, Quay Walker makes a huge difference, because you probably at halftime say, all right, DeVito's beating us with his legs. Let's have Quay Walker who can play sideline to sideline. Let's have him spy DeVito. So does it make a difference? I don't know, because you still have Keyshawn Nixon's fumble. You still have Jordan Love's 2 turnovers, and you still have inexplicable play calling on both sides of the ball. So does Quay Walker make a difference? Yes. Does Quay Walker win that football game for you? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Joe DeGuano joining us here this morning, recapping that loss last night against the Giants, plus looking ahead to this game against Tampa Bay here. DeVito came into this game, sacked a bunch. The offensive line for the Giants had been struggling. Andrew Thomas, of course, is a good offensive lineman over there. Packers only had 2 total quarterback hits, no sacks. Both quarterback hits came from Rashawn Gary, Joseph. I mean, you look at that and it's like, what the heck? What the heck was it? Was that a scheme thing? Do you think? Was that just the Giants' offensive line manhandling that Packers front, or was it a little bit of a mixture of both?
It was a scheme. I think Joe Barry went into this game saying we can beat them with 4, and this goes back to the big play at the end to Robinson. You're rushing with 4, and Preston Smith's answer was, we thought we could get there with 4, because you're going man-to-man defense and you're rushing with 4. And so I think it was a scheme. I think they went into this game, and again, this is where I get frustrated with Joe Barry. His defense came to play and made plays when they had to, and got after the quarterback with Patrick Mahomes. But then they get into a situation with the most sacked quarterback over the last several weeks in DeVito, and the Packers think, well, you know what, we can lazy our way through this. I would have been putting so many complex blitzes together to confuse this kid. I would have been bringing people off the edge. I would have put Rudy Ford in that slot and had him come in, or even Keyshawn Nixon. I would have been doing so much, because this guy hasn't seen a lot. And so to sit back and play passive, that's a scheme thing. And I think Green Bay went into it and said, well, yeah, we got this. We can get after the quarterback with our 4. And what started happening is, again, they broke lane discipline, and he was starting to scoot out there and get yards with his feet. And then it was one of those things where it just kind of snowballed, and Green Bay never caught up. And so, yeah, I put this a lot on the players, but also a lot on the coaching staff. So I think that inability to get after the quarterback, I do put it on the coaching staff with a scheme standpoint.
Man, you hit it all. I completely agree. One of my concerns, my biggest concern yesterday talking about this game was, will this defense, or will Joe Barry have the same game plan like they did? Like that Pittsburgh game kept coming to my mind.
Yep.
Just that kept coming to my mind. And I'm like, don't do that. You're great against Patrick Mahomes, but you never adjust to these other quarterbacks. And I was having flashbacks to that Pittsburgh game again yesterday, Joseph.
Absolutely. Where they went in with a very vanilla scheme and expecting guys to win one-on-one matchups. And I know they say the tape never lies, but you got to go beyond the tape. And when I say the tape never lies, okay, we can get after them with just 4. Well, let's start looking at game by game and trending. Were they trending better? Were the Giants' offensive line trending better? Were they getting better? Was DeVito getting better? And so if you're seeing a trend like that, if you're not looking game to game to game to game, if the arrow is pointing up and they're getting better at the problems, they're fixing the situation, maybe, just maybe, you can't just go vanilla on this. And so, yeah, I look, you and I have talked about Joe Barry ad nauseum. It's the inconsistency. Mm-hmm. It's the inconsistency that drives me crazy with him, because if he consistently puts together good game plans, and I think really the more that I look at this guy, I think that's his problem, is truly it's he gets out schemed. And I just think that is a problem. And again, Matt LaFleur is going to have to address it in the offseason one way or another. Either he says, I'm sticking with him, or he finally moves on. Because at this point, if Green Bay falters down the stretch, and let's say they lose to Tampa Bay, and, I don't see them losing to Carolina, but let's say they, split Chicago and Minnesota and kind of ends on a dud kind of end of the year, you got to do some self-scouting, and you got to say to yourself, where do I make some moves? And the question is going to be there. Is Joe Barry, does he stay or does he go? Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to be Matt LaFleur's biggest offseason decision.
All right. Before I let you go, then, how do you see this game playing out on Sunday at Lambeau Field?
You know what? If this game were at Tampa Bay, I'd give it to Tampa Bay. I think it's going to be a close football game. This game's at Lambeau, and I'm going to give it to I am going to give it to the Packers. I think that they come back. I think they have shown they can fight through adversity. I hate to say, the Giants game a good loss, because I don't think any loss is good, but maybe this refocuses this.
All right, Joseph, appreciate the time as always, man. Enjoy the rest of your week, and hopefully we'll have a better game to talk about next Tuesday.
All right, brother. Take care, man.
You got it. There you go. There's Joe joining us here this morning. We got to take our final break in the second hour. We'll get back to some more texts. Keep those coming. Also, what are your thoughts on the transfer portal? Thumbs up, thumbs down? What should they adjust with it? We're going to talk to RJ about that next hour. The Wisconsin deer gun season may be in the books, but we've got another big date on the calendar for hunters. That's Christmas, and Christmas shopping for that hunter in your life just got a whole lot easier for you because all you have to do is head to Tilden Gun or visit tildengun.com. Whether you're looking for a new deer rifle or a shotgun for turkey hunting, Tilden Gun has the best and biggest selection in the Chippewa Valley. And if you're looking for something in particular, they will work with you to help you find just what you're looking for. And the best part, it's all at the best prices in the Chippewa Valley. So this holiday season, when you're doing that Christmas shopping for that hunter in your life, think about supporting local too, because Tilden Gun, locally owned and family operated. While that hunter in your life may not have gotten that deer this year, you can help cheer them up with a Christmas gift they'll be talking about for years. Just visit Tilden Gun today at 12427 90th Avenue in Chippewa Falls and visit tildengun.com to start your shopping. I just utilized tildengun.com last week to order something. So simple, so easy, so easy. So if you want to check it out for yourself, check out their massive inventory, tildengun.com, your place to go. James, Packers Nation, we knew coming into this season there was going to be high points and low points. What excites me is that we went from OMG earlier this season to realistically talking about the playoffs. Am I frustrated? Yep. But hope is still high. I'm still on the man cave playoff train. Go Pack. Love it, James. Love it, man. Love the optimism. I just saw this for the first time, and I'm sure maybe some of you have seen this earlier, but I'll be honest with you. I don't watch a lot of ESPN. I don't watch a lot of the mothership over there, so I'm sure it was announced earlier. But tomorrow, I can't wait to check this out. I'm going to stay up late again tomorrow night to watch this. The 30 for 30, the Minister of Defense, Reggie White, a 30 for 30 on Reggie White, told in part through never before seen footage from a 2004 interview shot 2 months before Reggie White's passing. Saw a little bit of a clip on Facebook where J.J. Watt was talking about him growing up as a Packers fan and all that too. I can't wait to check this out. I love documentaries. I love sports history. One of my goals that'll never happen. Would love to do a documentary. I can't wait. Reggie White is on the very short list. I was never able to watch him play in person. That's one thing I wish, I know we've had that question before. Like if you could go back or if there was a player that you wish you could see, play in person, who would that have been? Reggie White's on the short list for me. I would have loved to have been at Lambeau Field at a game that Reggie was playing and just being in the stadium with the Reggie chants. Like that to me would have been so cool, especially at my age. I would have been younger, teen. And that to me would have been so cool to experience. He was one of my very first favorite players. I remember I got a player tee of him in 3rd grade, I think it was. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. Heck, my Pinewood Derby Boy Scouts car had 92 on it because of Reggie White. Still remember my first Reggie White card. Still have it. It was a practice card, like he was wearing sweatpants and it was like a training camp practice or something like that. Loved Reggie White as a kid. I can't wait to check this thing out. Can't wait. And I think it was, the clip I was watching last night with JJ, they talked about his move. We can all picture it right now, right? If you're a Packers fan and you watch Reggie White play, we can all picture the move, right? Just that dominating move. He's definitely, oh man, I would have loved to have been in Lambeau Field during, like if Reggie got a chant or they, doing the Reggie chants. And you remember a few years ago, this might be a little bit longer than a few years ago, but like if you've ever been to Lambeau Field, they do like right before the player intros, they do a little video and all that. And a while ago, they had like, some players or people talking in that video. Like Lombardi, I think it was Holmgren, Wolf, and then Reggie was on there. Every time Reggie's clip came up, that stadium drowned it out because it was just full of cheers. I can't wait to watch this tomorrow night. All right, we got 2 in, 1 more to go. We'll be back in just a little bit. Third and final hour on this Tuesday morning, kicking off right now. Appreciate you all tuning in, wherever, however you may be tuning in. Keep your texts coming. What are your thoughts on last night's game, last night's loss? Got a couple good texts here. Rick, the transfer portal, because we're going to hit up RJ Cardinal coming up here in about 15 minutes. Talk things, some things Badgers, but I also want to talk to him about transfer portal because there's a ton of players in that thing, over 100 quarterbacks in there too. Rick, the transfer portal is a real problem. The entitlement of the players is out of control. Michael Pennick's interview over the weekend is a great article. He talks about leaving Indiana and going to Washington. Interesting part about it is that he said he needed to take coaching. He said he had to humble himself and take responsibility. I did read that. Thanks for reminding me about that, Rick. That is a really good article. I would recommend a lot of people to check that one out. But I really enjoyed that one. Mark, Mark, Dan, as you know, my son is a college coach. I don't think you'll find a lot of coaches who like to transfer portal, but accept it as a fact of life. I'm sure there are reasons for the timing, but it would seem to make sense to wait until after the bowl and playoff games. For instance, my son's coaching staff at Ohio should be 100% focused on their bowl game Saturday, but they have players who got in the portal they need to replace, so they have to spend time recruiting in the portal this week. Good point there, too. Also love this one. I was talking a little bit about Reggie with that 30 for 30 coming. My son's first Packer game was Reggie's last game at Lambeau. After the game, Reggie circled the field, high-fiving fans. During this, I remember my young son standing on his bleacher seat with tears coming down and saying, "Dad, I don't want Reggie to retire." I responded, "I don't either, son. A special memory for me." That is an awesome story. That is an awesome story. Thank you for sharing that one, Mark. That's cool. That is really, really cool. Reggie, Jordan. I have not seen Tiger in person. Those are like usually the top three that I go to whenever that question comes up about players I wish I could or could have seen in person, play in person. Obviously saw him on TV and such. But I think oh man, it would have been so cool, I think, as a kid, as a teen, to be in Lambeau Field and to like experience the Reggie chants. That would have been so cool. So cool, I think. So I can't wait to check out this this time. I still remember the day finding out when Reggie passed away. Still remember it was a day after Christmas. And I was freshman in college. Yeah, freshman. Drove, if anybody's from Medford, if you remember good old Easy Stop. I was working there still. It was my high school job, but I'd worked there once in a while. But I drove over there to, I think, grab something. And I was listening to sports radio in my good old red Oldsmobile Achiever. Red Oldsmobile Achiever. Pulled up in the parking spot, and it came over the radio that Reggie White had passed away. And I couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it. I still remember watching his Hall of Fame ceremony. Went in with Aikman, I believe. His wife did the speech in that, but man, that's definitely one thing I wish I could have experienced as a youngster. So, all right, let's. What else do we got over here? Keep your texts coming though. 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line. Really quick, switching gears here, just because got to give them a little bit of a shout out. Bucks last night picking up the W. I know we were focused on the football game last night, but Bucks back in action after their exit from the in-season tournament last week against the Pacers, going up against the Chicago Bulls last night. And, well, things got a little interesting there. Quiet third quarter for the Bucks, allowed Bulls kind of to creep back in that thing, forcing overtime, but prevailing in overtime, 133-129. Giannis leading the way, 32 points, 12 rebounds, rinse and repeat. The Greek Freak leading the way. But Bobby Portis coming off the bench and putting up 17 points, also 7 rebounds after him kind of maybe being a little critical about his team, his teammates, coaching and staff. He put up, it's like put up or shut up. He put up, putting up 17 points in his 25 minutes of action last night. Bucks overall as a team shot just over 50%, 51.2% from the field. When you look at what Giannis has been doing so far this year, he's 4th in the league in scoring, 30.6 points per game. He's top 10 in rebounds, 7th at 10.7 rebounds per game. He's also top 10 in field goal percentage, 61.7%. 61.7%. And when you're looking at his I'm kind of curious. I think a lot of people are kind of curious. Where's he at, like free throw wise? Yeah, 66.7%. He's still a career 70.6. His assists are actually a tick up from career numbers. He's averaging 5.1 dimes a game, 5.1 assists per game, and he's a career 4.7. May not seem like a big leap or anything like that, but he's dishing it out there too. He's dishing it out there. Where's somebody asked what's his 3-point percentage so far this year? 24.3. That's 4 points below his career average, 28.6. So Bucks got the Pacers coming up tomorrow in a little bit of a rematch from the in-season tournament over there. But will there be a little revenge game on there? Probably not. In-season tournament's over with. Time to move on and focus on the rest of this regular season here. But we can officially say now that the Bucks, right? We can officially, let me bring up the standings here. Bucks are tied with Orlando for second place in the Eastern Conference, although Orlando holds a tiebreaker right now, but just one game back from the Boston Celtics. So Bucks 16-7 overall. Yeah, they're officially over 1/4 of the way through the season. It's kind of been an interesting first quarter of the season for the Bucks because here they are, one game back from first place. Right? One game back from first place in the Eastern Conference. Yet we're hearing about, maybe some discord, maybe some weirdness, as Bill Simmons says, between Giannis and the coaching staff. Bobby Portis's comments just the other day. It seems like this is a team that's in trouble from some of the stuff that we're hearing. Yet we're one game out. Bucks are just one game out from first place in the Eastern Conference. So is it much ado about nothing? I think it's just still, it goes back to the expectations still incredibly high for this team. That they want almost everything to be perfect. That everything should be going so well. That they should just be dominant. I think the Bucks, and then we as fans have such huge expectations for this ball club that if it's a little bit down, it's like, what's going on? Well, what are we doing? What's the issue here? And the fact that, you've had Bobby Portis come out, allegedly, rumored, from a reporter. And, some people kind of like looking at body language, maybe with Giannis and how he interacts with Adrian Griffin and that. You got questioned. Like, some people are like, oh, what's going on there? And you kind of wonder, too, like, if it wasn't a first-year head coach, would there be so many people? I shouldn't say so many people, but would there be a lot of rumblings about, is there a little bit of disagreement going on between the coaching staff and the players? If this was like Nick Nurse or one of those, name coaches out there, would there be? Maybe not. Probably not as much. But it's definitely been an interesting first quarter of this Bucs season because, hey, they're one game out of first. They're 15-7. Damian Lillard, 16-7. Damian Lillard said, before the in-season tournament, the fact that we're still trying to learn from each other and we're this good right now, it's scary to think about what we could be. But of all the negative stuff you've heard, you'd think this team is at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. But just one out. Just one out right now. Looking at this upcoming schedule here for the Bucs, though, they were home last night, and they're going to be home here yet for a while, up until Christmas. Pacers, Wednesday. Detroit, Saturday. Houston, Sunday. Spurs, Tuesday. Get our first glimpse of Wembanyama for the Bucs. Orlando next Thursday, which, now that actually kind of turns into an interesting game here, considering Orlando's in second place in the Eastern Conference. Same exact record as the Bucks right now. But that game's kind of gotten a little interesting. But the Bucks 11-2 at home so far this year. And with these games at home now, this is a chance for the Bucks to take advantage of this portion of their schedule, to pick up wins against Indiana, Detroit, Houston, Spurs, and the Magic here. Take advantage of their home court. Because after that, Christmas, they're going to be on a little bit of a road trip. New York, Brooklyn, Cleveland. Quick home stop against the Pacers, but then back on the road against the Pacers, San Antonio, and Houston. That takes us into the first Saturday of January. So after next Thursday, what is that? That schedule we got here is really small. Is that the 21st, I believe? Yeah, the 21st will be their last home playoff game, or home game, excuse me. And then they're back home, not back home until for that one spot there, but then really into January. So this is I think, I don't want to over dramatize it, but kind of a big stretch here for the Bucks, just in terms of taking advantage of the fact that they're going to have these games at home. They're so good at home this year. Take advantage of it and stack up these wins. And I think once that calendar turns to January, after we get by Christmas, that's when some really start to pay attention to what's going on, with the Bucks, how they look. Do we start to get a really good gauge of who this team is going to be when it comes to the postseason? Everybody kind of uses that Christmas Day as that benchmark. Well, it's coming up. Less than 2 weeks now. I kind of look at it more once we get into January. And then, NBA trade deadline. Last year, we were talking about the NBA trade deadline since the beginning of the season because of Jay Crowder. But trade deadline comes up on February 8th this year. Is it a little too early to talk about that? Yeah, maybe. But would the Bucks potentially be sellers buyers? Who would they have to target? Who would they need? Maybe some more defensive help out there? But then who are you going to give up? Well, we got plenty of time to talk about that when we get to that point. So, all right, let's take a quick break, and then we'll talk to RJ Cardinal. We'll talk some Badgers. Badger hoops. Still 23rd in the country, the latest rankings. AP polls didn't move, staying steady at number 23 after the win against Michigan State, then getting dominated by Arizona over the weekend, still staying at number 23. We'll hit that up. Badger volleyball, Final Four, their match Thursday. We'll hit that up. But I also want to talk a little college transfer portal with RJ. So a question that we've thrown out to all of you this morning. Your thoughts on the transfer portal. Your thoughts on the transfer portal. How would you adjust it if you could wave a magic wand in the college sports world? How would you edit, change, adjust the transfer portal? We know a lot of this probably can't happen and such, but what would you do? What would you do differently? How would you adjust it? A lot of you saying it's got to be changed. Well, how would you change it? Have over 100 quarterbacks in there, or what? Over 1,500 players in the transfer portal already? Have some good thoughts on there, but we'll ask RJ. All right, so first we'll take that break. And then we'll bring in Mr. Cardinal, the law firm of RJ and Cardinal, right, Dave? We'll be back after these quick words.
Doctor's exclusive 30-day comfort guarantee, so you know you'll walk away happy. The selection, brands, sizes, widths, service, and prices that fit just right. Come see for yourself at the Shoe Doctor. Easy to find. 2321 Claremont, near Fairfax, in Eau Claire.
He may not be the smartest sports talk host, but darn it, he gives 110% every time. Now here's your host, Dan Kasper.
Let's switch the gears here a little bit. Let's bring in Mr. RJ Cardinal. We're going to talk some college sports. We got the Badger volleyball team in the Final Four. First match coming up on Thursday. We're going to talk a little hoops with him. But first, RJ, one question that I've been kind of throwing out to some listeners here this morning has been about the transfer portal. I saw a number, I think it was from Barstool a few days ago, that had the number of quarterbacks that were in the transfer portal, which was over 100. It's probably more now because it was a few days ago. But what are your thoughts, RJ, on the transfer portal? And if you could change maybe a couple things or one thing about the transfer portal, what would that be if you could wave a magic wand for the college sports world, or maybe specifically for college football?
It's one of those. It's kind of hard to really jump in and try to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get people wanting to leave when they can't see themselves in a place, you know. But still, a majority of the people who enter the transfer portal don't come out on the other side. I think I'm trying to remember an article I saw that just showed like the amount of people who never went and ended up at another school to play a sport, not just football, but like in general. Like people don't, they think they're going to go find something better than the situation they're in, and sometimes they don't even find a situation to fall into. Yeah, I wish kids would get better direction on what actually it's going to take to end up to be where you want to be. Or people like just let them know the truth and be like, might want to stay where you're at. And for the most part, it's just there. I think there needs to be more transparency with the players, because there's no guarantee you're going to find a landing spot.
What a lot of our listeners this morning mentioned, they would like to see maybe the transfer portal kind of open up after the bowl games. We have a listener, Mark, his son coaches for Ohio, and he used the example, you know, they're trying to prepare for a bowl game this weekend to Myrtle Beach, but, you know, they've got kids now that are going to the transfer portal, so they got to kind of they're working on, you know, recruiting now this week too. Is that something you would like to see changed, is maybe move that transfer portal date to after, you know, the bowl games?
That'd be nice, but when you consider with spring ball starting in March, you can't really wait until mid-January for that national championship game to be ending on the 9th. I mean, you can still get your 30 days in, but you have to have, I mean, it gives kids a chance to go enroll at a new school too. So if you wait until after the bowl games and the transfer portal opens, somebody's going to be in the transfer portal and not be able to enter their new school until the new school year officially starts in July. So I think it's more of a convenience to get the players to their new school sooner. And so that the logistics there make it a little more difficult. But it would be nice to, not have somebody leaving and already committing to another school while a season is still going on. But logistically, I think for football teams as well as the players, it doesn't make too much sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting. I feel like this is a debate. Like, is it one of those that do you think college sports, the NCAA, can adjust, or do you think now that they've opened that door, you can't go back and adjust it or put restrictions on it at this point in time?
I mean, they should be able to. You have if your coach gets fired or leaves in the middle of the season, you can enter the transfer portal then. And I think it's a month after that or something. I'm trying to remember what it was for here when Coach Christ was fired. I know, Leon Lowry, who were you talking about last week, he was able to commit before the open window there because Dino Babers got fired at Syracuse, so he was able to enter the portal early and find a place to land. And our speculation from last week, we were pretty right. I don't know if you had a chance to read that.
I was going to bring it up with you.
Article.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, we'll get to that a little later then. But there's multiple different windows there, and it's just one of those. You could probably go and do some sort of reform, but I'm not entirely sure what you can go in and do. It's just like, the NCAA said, let's do NIL, and then said, oh, well, basically Congress should be able to help us regulate this. And they're like, we don't have time for that. Like, do your job. And they haven't. So sure, you could have some regulation, but I don't know what you're going to regulate because, it's somebody's idea of them being able to go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
You can't really go and be like, nope, you can't enter the portal. Once you land on the other side, though, somebody can flat out say you can't play. We've had that now happen with the Badgers basketball team with Micah Potter, and then the transfer from Air Force this year for the football team, where something wasn't done right, and it was all on the Air Force Academy's end, and caused him to not play. So, there's situations like that where, if you're going to have a transfer portal, and there shouldn't be any restrictions upon that. So maybe have a more defined window, but be understanding of certain situations. So if it doesn't conform to said window, there's an ability there to be flexible rather than be like, nope, sorry, bye, you're done for the year, you can't play.
Yeah. Switching gears here, since we mentioned him, the whole Leon Lowry. I don't even know what to say to describe it, but last week we were talking about him committed, decommitted. Well, now he's back at Wisconsin, and if you haven't read the Athletic article, or maybe some of you don't have an Athletic subscription, Jesse Temple has a very interesting piece from a few days ago when it all came down, kind of played out the whole scenario. But just kind of summarize it, RJ, here a little bit for those who maybe don't have a chance to read it. But it seems like there was a lot of wheels spinning, in those 48 hours.
Yeah, and it sounds like it sounds like the agent or the agents didn't come in until after the recruiting visit.
Mm-hmm.
It was a bizarre way for things to happen there, and the Wisconsin fan base and whoever heck else was involved there kind of exposed a fraudulent, or maybe not fraudulent, but agents that were strictly in it for themselves and told a kid a bunch of lies about the amount of teams that were interested in them and looking to pay them more money. When you had Lowry bring his head coach and his position coach to the visit, they had a great visit. He had a great visit. He was glowing all about it. And then on the plane ride home, apparently brought up, do I need to get an agent? They said no. He went and got one anyway. And then we got a decommitment less than 24 hours later. Know your own worth, followed by the agents telling everybody to shut their mouths. They don't know what the kid wants. Blamed his mom for it. His mom had nothing to do with it. Blamed Wisconsin for it, and their offer that they, pulled back after he committed, which they weren't there. The coach says there was no offer of anything. They talked with the head of the varsity collective, who wasn't privy to any of this information as well, and said we don't talk to a kid until they're on campus, enrolled in the school, and actually on the team. So like these agents just made up absolutely everything, and had this kid believe them. He's 21. Had this player believe them, and took advantage of him and fed him a lot of lies. And they even asked Jesse Temple not to either wait until after the weekend to post the article, which is when Lowry would have gone to Baylor with the agents, or another guy, the one who got all the Twitter attention, said not to post it at all because everybody's moved on from this.
Yeah.
So it was a good exposure to the bad side of certified NIL agents, which is not a thing at all. So if anybody's out there creeping around kids telling them they're certified NCAA NIL agents, that's not a real certification. So run the other way.
Yeah. So, was it basically, just to kind of summarize a lot of it too, boiled down to money, essentially, a little bit here, trying to get some money out of the varsity Wisconsin?
It was the agents trying to get more money.
Right.
And apparently they talked to Jesse and told him they take 10%. NFL agents make up to 3%.
Yeah.
So these guys are just con artists and swindlers. And it wasn't to get more money out of Wisconsin. It was to get more money out of anybody and take 10% of what this kid was owed. So, just not good people. And luckily, it didn't get too far in. Shortly after, or shortly before the article was even posted, he said he was representing himself again, and ended up recommitting to Wisconsin. So I'm guessing I had some conversations with the coaching staff. I know somebody flew out to see him in person and talked with him. So Wisconsin was still interested, and the whole thing is just crazy. 72 hours there on how everything played out, but
Absolutely.
It's one of those things you never want to see. But we now know it happens.
It happens. Absolutely. Switching gears here a little bit, RJ. So Badger basketball got the big win against Michigan State last week. Then Arizona just kind of had their way with them on Saturday. Badgers still remain in number 23 in the rankings here. I guess to take a positive out of this, is it Mr. John Blackwell? Second time this season, Big Ten Freshman of the Week, had 17 points off the bench against Arizona. Is that the main positive to be taken away from this past week? Is that, again, from all the indications, all the talk we had about this kid at the beginning of the year, he's kind of living up to those in the early parts of the season so far?
Yeah, it sure looks that way. You even had Tom Izzo after that Michigan State game be like, he was on campus twice.
Yeah.
And they didn't offer him or anything like that, and he seemed pretty disappointed about it after seeing what he's done so far. And I mean, heck, Michigan State's below 500 now on the year, and he's looking like the kind of kid Wisconsin has won recruiting battles over, of under recruited, and ends up being a diamond in the rough. And sure, he's not from the state here, but I mean, you find a kid who wants to come play here, and chances are they're going to do a lot better. Who doesn't want to play here, maybe feels some pressure to go to Wisconsin, or Wisconsin offers them just because they're a Wisconsin kid.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's one of those things. Like, I'd like more Wisconsin kids to come play basketball at Wisconsin. And for the people who say, I mean, and we've talked about it before, the system can open up when you have the athletes in it. I mean, we saw them go to the Final Four, and really it allowed things to open up because of the athletes they had playing within their system. They could slow it down and run the more traditional swing that we think of it, but I think the more traditional swing is actually what you see when you get the right people in place. And it can be a running kind of thing. It can be a move the ball faster thing to find the open man a lot quicker than how, when you don't have the athletes, you got to slow it down and make other people make a mistake by, you know, lulling them to sleep. But it's a versatile system that, yeah, when you don't have the athletes, people make fun of it. When you do, oh, look at this, Wisconsin's doing something untraditional and trying to run the ball. It's like they can.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, you know what? I think a lot of the kids who haven't gone to Wisconsin never wanted to. So what's the point in offering a scholarship?
Right. I know there were some people out there, you know, after Michigan State lost to Nebraska, kind of like maybe diminishing that win for Wisconsin going up against Michigan State. What would you say to those maybe who say, oh, maybe that win isn't as good anymore because Michigan State lost to Nebraska?
I'll still take 3 wins in the Breslin Center in a row.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's never been an easy place to play. The last time Wisconsin won 3 in a row was the 60s, and I mean, the Breslin Center wasn't even around yet. So, you know, it's one of those rare instances. I'll take wins over Tom Izzo any day of the week. And it loses its luster, and maybe it loses its luster a little more by the end of the season, depending on how Michigan State does here. But in the time and the place, you did what you had to do coming off of an emotional win versus Marquette, and you didn't have a letdown game.
Mm-hmm.
So that was good to see, and can't really take that away from them. You know, record wise, whatever happens. You can take away the quality win if you want to call it that, but overall, road win in the Big Ten, and you didn't have a letdown game. So I'll like it for that reason. And yeah, maybe by the end of the year we're like, I guess Michigan State wasn't so good, but still, it wasn't a letdown game.
RJ, Thursday, Badger volleyball back in the Final Four. There's a chance too they could be facing Nebraska if they win. You know, they could be facing Nebraska if Nebraska wins over there too. But how do you like the chances from what you've seen so far from this team and how they've performed so far in this tournament? How do you like their chances to come away with another national championship?
I mean, you gotta like their odds, but I mean, still, you're going up against Texas here on Thursday. I saw the basketball game got moved up by an hour, so to give people a chance to probably go to both games,
yeah,
or not go to both games, but go to the home game against Jacksonville State and then watch with the Wisconsin game, rather than be like, hey, why is it empty here for a home game, and then realize, oh yeah, they're going to be playing Texas here shortly. So maybe that's why we have no people in the stands. So good for them. But yeah, it's, I mean, you have to like what you see. And we've seen it now in pretty much ever since we talked about the loss at Nebraska and Penn State and Purdue. You know, outside of those, you're really looking at a team that has been focused. They're getting healthy again. And like I said, Texas is no slouch. I mean, that's going to be a tough one to get through. And you got to clear that hurdle before you can even think about Nebraska. And I don't think this team really thinks about Nebraska up until they're the roadblock in front of them. So it'll be a tough task to get back to the national championship game and win another one. But you can't really look at them and say they aren't capable of doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, they've kind of, I don't know if this is the right word to say, but kind of cruised through this tournament so far. I mean, swept Jackson State, swept Miami, defeated Penn State 3-1, defeated Oregon 3-1. I mean, it seems like this is ever since that tough stretch, where they lost to Penn State, lost Purdue, and lost to Nebraska a little bit before that too. It's kind of been they're on a mission. It seems like it.
Yeah.
Could it be that those two losses kind of put everything back into focus a little bit, and they've been just like super hyper focused in this tournament?
Yeah, they've started getting, because for a little bit there they had a couple people sitting out, but I think they're back to being healthy or full roster back. And yeah, when that kind of thing happens, sometimes it's better to get a loss or two in there to be like, oh, well, we got some stuff to fix. So that can be very helpful. And it seems for this Badger team, it has been.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, RJ. Appreciate the time. Appreciate all the insight as always this morning, buddy. You have a good rest of your weekend. Hey, we'll catch up next week before Christmas break. Okay, bud?
Yeah, sounds good. We did have the hockey team get a sweep over Penn State at home this weekend. Women's hockey split with the Gophers, but men's hockey now 14 wins on the year. That's one more than all of last year, and we haven't even gotten to the turn of the calendar yet. And looking forward to seeing what they can do here now going into the holiday tournament in 2 weeks, and then into next year and see where they land in the Big Ten.
Good nugget, man. Thanks for bringing that up. See, there's too much going on right now. I'm losing track of everything out there, bud. So,
right.
Hey, appreciate it, buddy. We'll catch up with you next week. Okay, sir?
Absolutely. We'll talk to you then.
You got it. RJ Cardinal. Good stuff as always. Let's take our final break. We'll do some picks. The Elbow Room, presented by the Elbow Room. We'll get to that. And then some final thoughts on that Packers loss from last night. Let's get to our pin predicts, brought to you by The Elbow Room. The Elbow Room, looking for a sports bar with some awesome memorabilia and decor. Looking for somewhere to check out the game. Check out The Elbow Room right next to the Banbury place over there. And they now carry Man Cave lights over there. All right. We just got some basketball games to be picking, but a quick update on where things stand in our pro football pick'em challenge. And boy, did I stink it up this week. Finally moved back into the top 3, and then, good Lord, I struggle. I struggle in a lot of picks this past weekend here, and I don't even think I'm on the top page of the leaderboard at this point in time. But it's not letting me load up mine here really quick, but I think we still got a tie. Where did it go? Come on, load up here. Okay, so it's frozen up right now, but we'll get to it here in a second and give you an update on where those picks stand. Here we go. All right, now we go. See, gotta love this computer. Garrett and Tim tied for first place at 135 apiece. Tom right behind them, just 1 point back. We got Keith, we got Peter, we Pat, and we got Darren, who are 2 back, sitting there at 133 apiece. So, yeah, I really stunk it up this past week. Really stunk it up. So, okay, let's do some really quick picks here as part of our picks and predicts. Again, brought to you by the Elbow Room. Again, just some basketball games here. We got the Cavs taking on Boston. Cavaliers visiting Boston. Boston undefeated at home so far this year, 10-0. The spread is at 10.5 for Boston. Give me a win for Boston, but I'll go under 10.5 points. We got Lakers visiting the Mavericks. Mavericks 14-8, just 6-4 at home. The Lakers, your in-season tournament champions. By the way, they are putting up a banner. But if they win more, they're not adding more banners. They're just going to add the years to it. It's a different color, different design than what would be for an NBA championship, in case anybody was wondering at this point in time. But we got Lakers as 1.5 favorites. I'll go Dallas in this one. I'm going to go with Dallas. Call it an in-season tournament hangover. Denver versus the Bulls. Give me so Denver's a 7.5. Give me Denver and they cover. I think Denver wins by double digits tonight. Golden State versus Phoenix. So it's in Phoenix. Phoenix actually just 5-6 at home. They're 3.5 favorites. Golden State. Phoenix wins and they cover. Sacramento versus the Clippers. In Los Angeles, Clippers 8-3 at home, 12-10 overall. The Kings are 6-5 on the road. Clippers are 3.5 point favorites, but I'm going to go with the Kings in this one. So I'm going to go with the Kings on that one. All right. Those are your picks and predicts here. Shout out to we're going to go Eau Claire Ryan for your Ray's Place. What's your beef? So EC Ryan, I'll hit you up with the text. We'll put that in the mail to get your certificate for a free hot beef or hot ham sandwich from the iconic and legendary Ray's Place. Some final thoughts. Quick, we got Illini Greg with the text. I hate the transfer portal and its current NCAA is off and should have seen this coming and set up a workable plan, but they are an awful organization. So it's typical one-time transfer, sit out a year, but do not lose the year of eligibility. This would make players who really needed to leave, be able to, while keeping most from doing so, looking for the highest bidder. PS was rooting for the Packers, but happy for former Illini Tommy DeVito, good kid who is making himself some money right now. All right, I only got a few minutes here left, so we'll have an episode of the podcast up shortly after we shut the airways off because I want to hit up more about this loss from last night, the frustration level amongst a lot of Packers fans and such. But hey, Rick, if you're still, I just saw this on Facebook here. Rick, first-time listener, what up, man? Appreciate you tuning in. Where do you hit up the Reggie White doc? It's I think it's tomorrow night on ESPN. I saw the ESPN PR page here. Let me bring it up here for you to see if it says it's got to be on Plus. The post just says debuts tomorrow, 8 p.m. ESPN. So, is it on ESPN Plus? No, I think it's just ESPN. So, yeah, the documentary will be made available on ESPN Plus immediately after its premiere. Okay, so it'll be on ESPN and then it'll be on ESPN Plus after its premiere. But tomorrow, 8 p.m., Rick, hopefully you're still listening. Hopefully you're still listening. But I'll be checking that out for sure. Absolutely. I can't wait. But anyways, the podcast, there's more I want to say about the game from last night that I feel like I didn't probably properly convey out there. So I'll do that as soon as we shut the mics off. I'll start recording an episode of the Man Cave podcast. And a big thanks. We've seen a spike in our downloads and listens to the pod. So big shout out to all of you. I appreciate that. Big thanks. If you haven't followed or subscribed for free, you can do so wherever you listen to your podcast. If you don't mind, 5-star rating and positive review so others can find the podcast over there too. So, but yeah, I'll hit up a little bit more on the pod shortly after. But definitely a lot. It's just, I don't know. It's to me, I go back and forth with this game from last night. Like, it was ugly. It was bad. It was poor football all around. Do you point the finger at this, that, the other thing, all of it? I mean, I don't know. I feel weird after this game. I don't know if that's the best way to describe it. Just, I was nervous heading into that game last night too. Before it was kicked off, I was sitting there thinking I'm a little nervous, and maybe it's just because I started to buy in that this team might be going to the postseason, and I started to get that feeling again, like we've had for how many years. Like, I would always get nervous before a lot of games, and I don't know if it was just that or if I started to feel a trap game coming into play. I don't know, but hey, we'll start to record a pod right after this. All right. Big thank you to everybody who texted, tweeted, Facebooked, commented on the video stream and such. I appreciate you. I appreciate all of your thoughts and comments and input and analysis. Keep them coming. Let's do it again tomorrow morning, 6 a.m.